I think these next 2 weeks on Days of Our Lives are shaping up to be one of those classic chaos stretches where everything unravels at once. And honestly, a lot of it feels like emotional consequences finally catching up with people. Starting with Rachel, I was actually surprised to see her show a bit of maturity by giving Brady Black the green light to date Sarah Horton. But at the same time, I can't help wondering if that growth is only on the surface. The moment she ends up back in front of Judge Dabney, everything feels like it could fall apart again. What really stands out to me is Marlena Evans sensing something isn't right. I didn't realize how dangerous Rachel's connection to Sophia Choi still is until now, but if Marlena uncovers those texts, it could completely change how the court sees Rachel. To me, this raises a bigger question. Was Rachel manipulated the whole time, or did she knowingly play a role? And then there's the hearing, which honestly sounds like a total disaster waiting to happen. If Marlena goes against Kristen DiMera and tells the truth about Rachel being released too early, I think that's the moment everything explodes. Kristen losing control and lashing out feels inevitable, and I was wondering if this could permanently damage her relationship with both Marlena and Brady. The fallout seems brutal either way. Rachel ending up heartbroken and possibly sent back to a facility, or even juvie. Feels like the show doubling down on long-term consequences rather than a quick fix. At the same time, the whole Holly and Tate situation feels like a different kind of chaos, more psychological than legal. I didn't expect Tate Black to spiral like this, especially tied to something as sneaky as swapped pills. When Holly Jonas realizes she's been set up with antipsychotic meds, it really reframes everything. To me, that makes Sophia one of the most unsettling players right now. She's not just manipulative, she's calculated. I think the moment when Holly and Tate confront Sophia could be one of the most intense beats of the week, especially if all the truth comes out at once. That kind of exposure usually doesn't just end the conflict, it escalates it. On a lighter, but still emotionally messy note, Sean Brady moving in with Jada feels like the kind of decision that sounds practical, but is obviously going to complicate things. I was wondering if this is less about recovery and more about shifting relationships, especially with Belle Brady clearly not taking it well. Then there's the adoption drama, which feels like it could go either way. Johnny DiMera and Chanel Dupree, DiMera getting hit with major news about their future makes me think the show is setting up either a devastating loss or a hard-won victory, but not something simple. And finally, the biggest shocker to me might be the tease about Lexi Carver. If she's really on the verge of waking up, that changes everything for Paulina Price, Abe Carver, and Theo Carver. I didn't expect the show to go there, but it feels like one of those twists that could ripple across multiple storylines at once. Overall, I think these episodes are less about setup and more about payoff. Secrets exposed, alliances tested, and a lot of emotional fallout. I may be wrong, but it really feels like Salem is heading into one of those turning point phases where nothing stays the same afterward. I think the return of Days of Our Lives is about to take a dramatic turn, especially with Chad DiMera stepping back into Salem. With Connor Floyd making his debut on April 21st, I can't help but feel like the writers are setting him up to make a strong first impression. And honestly, that's exactly what this moment needs. To me, this feels like more than just a recast. It's an opportunity to redefine Chad. I was wondering if the show might use this return to push him straight into emotional chaos, and all signs seem to point in that direction. There's already so much tension waiting for him, especially where Kat Green is concerned. I didn't realize just how complicated things had become between Kat and EJ DiMera until now. But the more I think about it, the more inevitable the conflict feels. Chad clearly still has unresolved feelings for Kat, and from her side, it doesn't seem like she's fully moved on either. But at the same time, Chad is trying to hold himself back, for Thomas's sake, if nothing else. That promise he made as part of the custody agreement? That's hanging over everything. And maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like a ticking time bomb. If Chad even slightly crosses that line, I could easily see Jack Devereaux and Jennifer Horton Devereaux getting pulled back into the drama, reopening old wounds. What really stands out to me, though, is the potential for a powerful, almost cinematic return scene. I keep imagining Chad walking into the Dimera mansion, calling out, sensing something is off. And then, he finds EJ and Kat together. Not just talking, but in a moment that confirms everything he feared. If the show goes there, it wouldn't just be shocking. It would immediately define Floyd's version of Chad. Raw emotion, betrayal, anger, the kind of entrance that makes you pay attention. And when I think about Kat's trajectory, it actually makes sense. Her connection with EJ has been building, even if it started under questionable circumstances involving Rafe Hernandez. Lines are blurring, and I feel like she may be getting pulled in deeper than she expected. That kiss we know is coming? It feels like just the beginning. In a way, this storyline seems designed to collide all these characters at once. Chad trying to move forward, Kat caught between past and present, and EJ stepping right into the middle of it all. So yeah, I think Connor Floyd's debut isn't just a casting change. It's the start of a major emotional storm. And if the show plays it right, this could be one of those moments fans talk about for a long time. I think this week on Days of Our Lives is shaping up to be one of those emotionally heavy stretches where almost every storyline collides at once. And honestly, I was wondering how far the writers were willing to push some of these characters. From what I can see, everything really starts with Rachel's hearing. Watching Rachel Black stand before the judge, visibly shaken, holding on to Kristen DiMera, it already feels like a moment that could change her life. And when she hugs Marlena Evans beforehand, to me, it signals just how scared and uncertain she is. I didn't realize things would spiral this much, especially since Belle Black was trying to keep Rachel out of serious trouble. But it seems like her plan hits a wall, and honestly, Kristen making a scene probably doesn't help at all. Even if Rachel avoids juvie, I get the feeling the judge might still send her somewhere like Bayview for mental health treatment. Either way, it sounds like the ruling is going to leave Rachel completely heartbroken, and maybe even more fragile than before. At the same time, there's a totally different kind of shock happening with Philip Kiriakis and Gabi Hernandez. I think Philip blurting out, "I love you," is one of those impulsive soap moments that changes everything. Gabi being thrown off at first makes sense to me, but her eventually saying it back? That could be the start of something real, or something that crashes just as fast. Meanwhile, the whole Kiriakis family seems tangled in multiple directions. Maggie Kiriakis and Xander Kiriakis are dealing with fresh drama tied to Vivian Alamain. While over at the hospital, Jeremy Horton visiting Stephanie Kiriakis feels like the kind of emotional reunion that stirs up old feelings. I was thinking this might not sit well with Alex Kiriakis, and sure enough, him overhearing their conversation hints at jealousy creeping back in. Then there's the mystery with Holly Jonas and Tate Black, which, to me, is getting more intense by the minute. Tate possibly taking those pills himself and experiencing the same symptoms? That's a risky move, but it might finally connect the dots. When Holly's blood work confirms antipsychotic medication, something she clearly didn't knowingly take, it really shifts the story into something darker. I think the biggest twist here is the suspicion falling on Sophia Choi. The idea that she could have orchestrated everything, even manipulating Rachel into helping her, makes this feel like a calculated scheme rather than random chaos. If that's true, it completely changes how we see Sophia. And just when things couldn't get more dramatic, the adoption storyline takes center stage. Johnny DiMera and Chanel Dupree DiMera are so close to finalizing Trey's adoption, and I was honestly thinking this might be one of the rare happy moments. But of course, this is Salem. When Melinda Trask suddenly stops the process, saying one last person needs to be heard, you can already feel the tension building. And then Sophia shows up. That entrance alone feels intentional, like she's been waiting for the exact right moment to make her move. I may be wrong, but to me, this looks like Sophia stepping in to challenge the adoption entirely. And if that happens, Johnny and Chanel's dream could fall apart right in front of them. Overall, I think this week is less about resolution and more about emotional fallout. Broken trust, shocking confessions, and decisions that could have long-term consequences for almost everyone involved. I think this latest Days of Our Lives preview is leaning hard into courtroom drama, but to me, it feels like more than just legal stakes. It's emotional fallout finally catching up with everyone. Rachel's big day has arrived, and honestly, I was wondering if the show might pull back at the last minute, but it doesn't look like it. Seeing her walk into court with Brady and Kristen, facing judgment for shooting EJ, really raises the question, is this where the story gets real consequences, or will it bend the rules like soaps often do? I didn't realize how much tension they'd built around Rachel's fear of prison until now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the judge's ruling could go in a surprising direction, possibly something that protects her while still acknowledging what she did. Then there's Gabby and Philip, and I have to say, that L-word moment caught me off guard. I think Gabby being stunned makes perfect sense, especially since Philip is completely unaware that she's the one who actually sabotaged his father's company. To me, this feels like a ticking time bomb. Love confessions in soaps rarely land well when they're built on secrets like that. I was wondering if this is setting up a major betrayal reveal, and it probably won't be pretty. Maggie's good news about Vivian and Ivan disappearing with Xander feels suspicious at best. I mean, in Salem, people don't just go missing without a twist. And with EJ possibly involved, I can't help but think this isn't a clean escape story. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but missing in this context almost always hints at something darker. Stephanie and Alex's situation might be one of the more quietly explosive threads. Stephanie opening up to Jeremy about everything she went through. It sounded genuine, but also intimate in a way that could easily blur lines. And Alex overhearing it? That's classic soap setup. I think this could spiral fast, and I wouldn't be surprised if this misunderstanding pushes them toward a breakup, or at least a serious confrontation. Holly and Tate's storyline is where things start to click into place. I didn't realize until now how deliberate Sophia's manipulation might have been, but the mention of antipsychotics showing up in Holly's system changes everything. If Tate and Holly are starting to connect the dots with Sarah, then Sophia's whole scheme could finally unravel. To me, this feels like the beginning of the end for her games, but also the start of serious consequences. And then there's the adoption drama with Chanel and Johnny. Just when things should be happy and hopeful, Melinda steps in to halt everything. I think we all knew something would go wrong, but Sophia showing up as the last person the court needs to hear from? That's chaos waiting to happen. I was wondering if she'd try to redeem herself or double down, and honestly, it could go either way. But if the truth about drugging Holly comes out in that courtroom, Sophia might not just ruin the adoption. She could be sealing her own fate. Overall, I feel like this week is less about shock twists and more about consequences finally catching up. Maybe I'm wrong, but it really seems like multiple storylines are converging on one idea. You can only hide the truth for so long before it explodes, usually in the most public, dramatic way possible. I think this whole episode had that classic chaotic days energy, where everyone is juggling secrets, trauma, and protein powder level decision-making. Starting with Tate, I was honestly amused. He's doing burpees like he's in some elite training montage, and Rachel's just standing there trying to make sense of it. I mean, an endorphin study? Sure. I feel like he could have just said, "I want muscles," and saved everyone the confusion. But I did like the small moment between them. Him giving Rachel that taekwondo charm felt oddly sincere, like he's trying to be someone steady, even while he's clearly figuring himself out. Rachel, on the other hand, feels like she's spiraling a bit beneath the surface. The whole supplement exchange, passing off Sophia's gift as something for Holly, just feels messy. I was wondering if she even realizes how tangled she's making things, or if this is going to blow up in a much bigger way later, especially with court looming over her. Then there's Ari and Liam, and honestly, that whole setup feels like a ticking time bomb. Liam hiding out shirtless in her dorm, while she casually says her roommate moved out. I didn't buy that for a second. All of Holly's stuff still being there made it even more awkward. And Tate almost catching on? That was one of those moments where I was thinking, okay, this is going to unravel soon, right? Liam being worried about Klaus's connections adds a darker layer too. Like this isn't just a temporary hiding situation. It could drag Ari into something dangerous. The JJ and Sean scenes were probably the most grounded emotionally. I think Sean had a point, even if it was harsh. Freezing in a life or death situation has consequences, and JJ seems painfully aware of that. What stood out to me was how JJ didn't really defend himself. He just accepted it. That says a lot about where his head is right now. And Jada stepping in when she did? That felt like a necessary interruption before things got even heavier. At the station, the conversation between Belle and Jada was interesting, but also a bit jarring. They go from, the shooting was justified, straight to worrying about Sean relapsing. I get the concern, but I was thinking, are we jumping ahead here? Still, it does plant the seed that Sean's recovery might not just be physical. Holly's scenes added another layer of quiet instability. Moving back to the mansion, switching birth control, worrying she's like Xander. There's a lot going on with her emotionally. I actually liked how Sarah shut that comparison down immediately. It felt grounding. But Holly's fear that Tate will eventually leave her? That felt very real, especially given how shaky they've been. And then Belle volunteering to move in with Sean. I mean, I didn't quite buy the purely platonic angle. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like the kind of situation that's bound to blur lines, especially with their history. Jada holding Sean's hand right after that just layered the tension even more. By the end, everything sort of loops back to Tate and Holly, and I think that's where things might get quietly messy. Him worrying about breaking out and immediately considering supplements, her just handing them over. It all felt a bit impulsive, a bit naive. To me, it's like they're both trying to fix deeper issues with surface-level solutions. Overall, I was left feeling like this episode is setting up a lot of small explosions. Nothing fully detonates yet, but you can feel it building. In relationships, in secrets, in all these half-truths people are telling each other. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like the calm right before things start getting really complicated. The week of March 23rd, 2026, on Days of Our Lives, is shaping up to be full of drama, heartbreak, and some surprising exits. Personally, I didn't realize just how much chaos Salem could handle in one week, but apparently, it can handle a lot. Here's my take on what's coming up. Let's start with Rachel Black. Things get complicated for her in court. Again, everyone seems confident that the judge will go easy, and even the shooting victim, E.J. DiMera, seems to believe the little girl is no longer a threat. Rachel even goes so far as to give Brady Black her blessing, which I think has to do with Sarah Horton. Sweet, right? But knowing Salem, nothing goes smoothly. Rachel's meeting with the judge doesn't go as planned, and the consequences could be serious. This would explain why Kristen DiMera completely freaks out at the hearing. Meanwhile, Belle Black is ready to fight tooth and nail to keep Rachel from facing criminal charges. I'm curious if this is going to end in a courtroom showdown, because it feels like it. Meanwhile, Ari Horton is making her exit from Salem. I can't help but think her departure is tied to her relationship with Liam Selegico. Even though Liam wasn't a suspect in any incident, the police still need his statement, which probably adds tension to Ari's decision. Later in the week, Ari shares some good news, which makes me wonder if she's leaving Salem to start fresh after the situation with Liam, and maybe even Holly Jonas. It feels like a bittersweet goodbye. Over on the Brady side, Jada Hunter is asking Sean Brady to move in with her. After the shooting, the doctor assured Belle that Sean will make a full recovery, but it will take time. And time at home can bring people closer. Could this spark the old flame between Jada and Sean again? I'm intrigued to see how this will play out. Other storylines this week are packed with twists. EJ uses Lexi Carver to manipulate Paulina Price. Holly distances herself from Tate Black, and Marlena Evans makes a chilling discovery. Could Johnny DiMera and Chanel Dupree DiMera's baby go missing? Sophia is plotting to stop Janelle from finalizing an adoption, so there's definitely more intrigue ahead. For me, the court drama with Rachel and the Ari Liam storyline are the ones I'm most excited to watch. Salem always keeps us guessing, and this week looks like no exception. I was watching the Days of Our Lives episode from Tuesday, March 17th, and honestly, it felt like the show was running a full-on chemistry experiment with Gwen Rizchek and Philip Kyriakis. The question is, did they pass? From what I saw, the sparks were definitely flying, but let me break it down. Right now, both Gwen and Philip are technically in relationships, though the term is flexible in Salem. Gwen's been hopping into bed with Xander Kyriakis here and there, and Philip is head over heels for Gabby Hernandez. But let's be real, just because they're involved with other people doesn't mean a Gwen-Philip romance isn't on the horizon. Gabby's been using Philip to dig intel for Demera Enterprises, which puts a major strain on their relationship. Now that Titan's lost control and Demera's back in charge, Titan is struggling, and once Philip realizes Gabby's betrayal, their romance might be toast. Meanwhile, Gwen's fling with Xander isn't exactly exclusive, so it may fizzle just as quickly as it started. But here's the tricky part. How would Xander feel if his brother started dating his ex? Jealous? Protective? Or just straight up annoyed? If Gwen and Philip ever took the leap, it could get messy, real fast. Still, watching their scenes together was fun. The banter was sharp, the tension undeniable, and Philip's reactions, classic. Fans online seem to love their dialogue, and honestly, I get it. But there's a major question looming. Philip's been trying to be a better man, while Gwen, well, she's still very much her devious self. Would she drag him down with her? To me, the possibility of a Gwen-Philip pairing is tantalizing, but dangerous. It's the kind of pairing that could either ignite fireworks or end in disaster. Either way, Salem just got a lot more interesting. The days of our lives, spoilers for the week of March 23, 2026, are packed with drama. Ari Horton is set to say goodbye, and Rachel Black faces a verdict that could change everything. Meanwhile, Sean Brady finds himself in an unexpected situation. This week promises heartbreak, tension, and a few surprises. Starting with Rachel, she's in a tough spot. After confessing to shooting E.J. Demera, she has to face a judge. Naturally, she's terrified of being sent back to Bayview. I was wondering if anyone considered how pulling her out of the mental hospital might complicate her case, but Kristen Demera didn't seem too concerned about that. Everyone's insisting that Rachel will be okay, but I think she's going to be devastated by the judge's decision. It's one of those moments where the legal reality hits harder than anyone expects. On a slightly brighter note, Rachel does manage to give Brady Black her blessing to pursue a romance with Sarah Horton, so maybe there's some hope amidst the heartbreak. Over with Ari Horton, it looks like her time on the canvas is coming to an end. She's saying goodbye after navigating some complicated moments with Liam Selejko and Holly Jonas. Ari's departure reminds me that several younger characters are about to exit Salem. Definitely a bittersweet moment for fans. Sean Brady's week is looking complicated too. Jada Hunter asks him to be her new roommate, which seems like a practical move since Sean will be in recovery for a while. But I can't help thinking there's a chance this living arrangement could reignite something between them. Soap opera logic being what it is, I wouldn't be surprised if sparks flew. Elsewhere, E.J. Demera is up to his usual manipulations, using the Lexi Carver situation to pressure Paulina Price into doing his bidding. I have a feeling Paulina might be stepping into even bigger trouble if she keeps following his orders. Holly Jonas continues to distance herself from Tate Black, but now that he's taking the supplements too, things could get explosive. It's possible his reaction might trigger a drug test, which could unravel more secrets than anyone expects. Marlena Evans also has a shocking discovery coming her way. Could Johnny Dimera and Chanel Dupree Dimera's son be missing? That would certainly send waves through Salem. And Sophia Choi is stirring up trouble, planning to stop an adoption from being finalized. I'm curious how that will shake out. It's bound to create chaos. So, this week in Salem is shaping up to be full of emotional farewells, tense confrontations, and unexpected twists. I'm especially intrigued to see how Rachel handles the judge's verdict and whether Sean and Jada's living situation sparks romance again. One thing's for sure. If you thought things were calm in Salem, think again. I was thinking about the latest Days of Our Lives drama, and wow! Jeremy Horton has finally been cleared after months of false accusations. Honestly, I didn't realize just how much he went through. Remember that sweet moment when Julie Williams handed him snacks as he packed up his car to leave for New York and stay with his dad, Mike Horton? A tiny act of kindness, but in the chaos of Salem, even small gestures feel monumental. After the intense co-kidnapping with Stephanie Johnson, it seemed like Jeremy might stick around for a while, though Michael Rourke, the actor playing him, is leaving on April 29th. So, we might be seeing a recast. The whole ordeal started when Jeremy and Stephanie finally got free, but she collapsed into his arms. By the time Alex Kyriakis arrived, Stephanie was mostly okay, only the door lock was keeping them from leaving. Last week, Alex and Rafe Hernandez stumbled upon Dr. Wilhelm Rolfe and E.J. Demera's secret lab behind the Tom Horton Free Clinic. Alex walked in to see Jeremy gently holding Stephanie, and naturally, panic ensued. I mean, if you saw your friend unconscious in someone else's arms, you'd probably freak out too. Alex immediately attacked Jeremy, punching him multiple times, until Stephanie yelled for him to stop and cleared up the misunderstanding. Jeremy wasn't her kidnapper. That honor went to Owen Kent. This all happened right after Stephanie had dislocated Jeremy's thumb to help them escape. Talk about high-stakes teamwork. After spotting Owen disguised as a janitor and seeing Thomas Demera discover Stephanie's phone, Jeremy figured out the kidnapper's identity and followed him to the hospital. He waited for the perfect moment to rescue Stephanie, only for things to go hilariously wrong. Stephanie, confused and scared, screamed at Jeremy, thinking he was the stalker. Then Owen appeared, snatching Jeremy and creating a hostage situation bigger than he planned. Suddenly, he had two captives instead of one. Stephanie quickly realized the only way out was cleverness. She tricked Owen into unlocking her handcuffs by faking discomfort, and then used her charm to grab his cell phone. The 911 dispatcher call enraged Owen, but Stephanie and Jeremy's quick thinking kept them alive. She even freed Jeremy by yanking his thumb out of its socket, and then taught him how to pick her handcuffs with bobby pins from her hair. Hero-level resourcefulness. Jeremy's luck ran out when he tried picking the door lock. He managed to free Stephanie, but she was too weak and collapsed into his arms, right as Alex burst in and started beating him, still clueless about the situation. Once they finally reached the hospital, apologies started rolling in. First, Jada Hunter, who had been harsh and accused Jeremy of hacking, offered a heartfelt apology. Then Alex, finally realizing his mistake, apologized for both the attack and his false accusations. Alex asked Jeremy if he still planned to leave Salem. Surprisingly, Jeremy hinted that he might stay. Honestly, that makes sense. With all the drama brewing around Alex and Stephanie, having Jeremy stick around could shake things up even more. But here's the catch. Michael Rourke is leaving on April 29th, which raises the possibility of a recast. Michael's schedule didn't allow him to continue, and since Days of Our Lives films 9 to 10 months in advance, a recast might have already happened quietly. The show has no problem with recasts. They do it all the time. If Jeremy is recast and stays in Salem, he could play a crucial role when Joy Wesley returns after having her baby. Joy left town pregnant, lied to Alex and Stephanie about it, and will be back on April 24th, right at the start of May sweeps. Michael Rourke will still appear in a few episodes during her return, but after that, a new Jeremy might step in to support Stephanie. Given everything she's been through, trauma bonding with Jeremy seems inevitable, especially as Alex continues pushing his family plans, not knowing Stephanie doesn't want kids. So, if Jeremy is recast, we might be looking at a love triangle, or even a quadrangle, with Joy involved. Stephanie clearly trusts and understands Jeremy in ways Alex can't, and I wouldn't be surprised if tension escalates between all of them. Fans will miss Michael Rourke, but this secret recast could add some thrilling layers to Salem's storylines. It's official, Days of Our Lives fans. I'm back. Try to contain yourselves. If you didn't pack Dramamine, that's on you, because Salem clearly thinks stability is for other zip codes. Right now, the town is wobbling like a shopping cart with one bad wheel. Alliances are shifting, secrets are leaking through walls, and at least one person is making decisions that should come with a warning label. So yes, settle in, brace yourself, and let me give my 2 cents, upgraded, naturally, to 2 full, slightly unhinged scoops. I can't stop thinking about EJ's little science experiment. If he really brought Lexi back from the dead, how does the law even handle that? There's no reanimated citizen clause. Salem might need to draft one on the fly. And Paulina hit the nail on the head when she asked if Lexi would still be Lexi. She's not wrong. Who knows what came back inside her mind, or if it's even remotely what anyone expects. And speaking of mysteries, where did Rita stash Lexi's body? Which room did EJ visit her in? Pull on that thread, and it could unravel far more than EJ's wake her up and make people happy mutt and rich master plan. Then there's Liam, who keeps me intrigued. Watching him at the Brady pub, quietly studying the menu while completely unaware that Klaus is tailing him, raises a bigger question. How has he been navigating the world up to now? Can he even read a menu? He's clearly putting in the work, so yes, he probably manages, but what about before? Even ordering fast food requires looking up. If the writers lean into that, Liam's story could be genuinely compelling. And the way he carries a bit of John's vocal timbre? Coincidence? Or is Salem grooming him for something bigger? Tate and those pills are another ticking time bomb. He casually admits he might want to try them, and Holly just hands them back, completely unaware of what she's really dealing with. If he starts spiraling, it won't stay quiet for long. That fuse is already lit, and let's be honest, Sophia proving that a young girl from Bayview can be a criminal mastermind is just classic Salem logic. Over in Alemania, things escalated from romantic European chaos to duck and cover in record time. Dimitri spots a sniper's red targeting dot, launches himself like a human missile, and takes down Leo just as bullets start auditioning for a crime scene. Miraculously, no one gets ventilated, though Leo does take a solid hit to the head and wakes up concussed, dazed, and utterly committed to whatever alternate dimension he briefly visited. The result? A string of delirious nonsense that somehow had me laughing under the worst circumstances. Andrew explained that Dimitri and Leo were cleared of their crimes, but mentioned Vivian and Ivan had disappeared, and that both men were suspects. Neither seemed to care, with Leo deadpanning, "Oh, who cares anyway? Vivian makes Cruella de Vil look like a camp counselor. And Ivan? I bet that man eats puppies for breakfast. Very bad people." Later, Andrew tells Dimitri he wants to figuratively nail him to the wall. Leo chimes in, "Nailing people to walls? Andrew, that is in very poor taste. Unless we're talking about a Vogue, Gothic Torture Edition photo shoot." Andrew, of course, responds with a classic, "Shut up, Leo." Meanwhile, Klaus navigates what Salem insists on calling the warehouse district, which is really just a leafy ambush garden. He lines up Liam like he's checking off a grocery list, complete with a suppressor that screams, "I planned this, Your Honor!" Liam raises his hands in the universal, "please don't shoot me" gesture. JJ rushes in and immediately short-circuits, and Sean goes full action hero mode. Bullets fly, choices are made, and suddenly everyone's on the ground questioning every life decision. Classic Salem chaos. And poor Leo? By the end, he sums up his own experience perfectly. "Oof! It feels like my brain is throwing a party and forgot to invite the oxygen." On Monday, March 23rd, 2026, Days of Our Lives takes us deeper into the chaos that EJ has unleashed, and Leo's emotional turmoil reaches a breaking point. Ever since EJ slipped his father's ring onto his finger in the crypt, it feels like a switch flipped inside him. To me, his darker tendencies are no longer subtle, they're full throttle. Susan might be sensing this change in her once sweet boy, and honestly, I think she's onto something. Evil seems to be lurking in Elvis, all courtesy of his manipulative, domineering father. EJ insists he's only trying to honor Stefano's dying wish, to bring back his beloved daughter, Alexandra. But let's be honest, he's also after a hefty payday. That part he keeps conveniently quiet from Paulina, especially when he threatens an action involving Lexi that could ruin Paulina's life. He's playing her, using secrets as leverage to get exactly what he wants. Classic EJ. Meanwhile, EJ attempts some damage control with Stephanie, swearing he had nothing to do with her kidnapping, and neither did Rolf. According to him, Owen Kent was acting alone. Stephanie wants to believe him, but can you blame her for remaining skeptical? After all, Rolf just left her and Jeremy in a situation that could have killed them. Stephanie's caution is justified. EJ orchestrated Rolf's murderous plan to ensure no one would ever discover Rolf had been in the hospital basement. Now Rafe is sniffing around, comparing notes with Jada. Will the FBI or Salem PD ever put the pieces together? Personally, I think that's unlikely. Salem's secrets have a way of staying buried. On the other side of town, Leo finally makes it back to Salem, but not in one piece. Without Dimitri and with a serious head injury, he's rushed to Salem University Hospital, where he reconnects with his friend and confidant, Dr. Marlena Evans. Leo's recent adventure in Alemania was wild. Vivian nearly poisoned him. He was forced to disguise himself as a woman, and Dimitri literally saved him from bullets. But the moment that shook him most was a phone call from Javi. He thought there might still be hope with Javi until Dimitri walked in mid-conversation. Javi realized what was happening, hung up, and Leo's chance at reconciliation was gone. Now, Leo is torn. He's drowning in guilt for breaking Javi's heart, yet he can't ignore the unresolved feelings he still carries for Dimitri. What advice will Marlena give him? Maybe the answer is simple. Javi needs to return to Salem so they can face each other in person. Can Marlena work her magic to make that reunion happen? For Leo, it feels like the only way forward is a confrontation that can't be avoided any longer. This week on Days of Our Lives, detectives J.J. Devereaux and Sean Douglas Brady had a terrifying run-in with Vivian Alamain's henchman, Klaus Mueller. Things got really tense when Liam Selejko was about to get shot by Klaus. But J.J. froze at the crucial moment, almost getting both of them killed. Thankfully, Sean swooped in and saved the day. But here's what I'm wondering. Is J.J. on the brink of another spiral? In the past, we've seen him hit the booze or pills, or worse, when he's spiraling. And I can't help but worry that we might be heading down that dark road again. Right now, J.J. is completely shell-shocked. Sean is gravely wounded from the encounter, though the good news is that he's going to be okay. He's in the hospital recovering, and it looks like Klaus is finally finished for good. But JJ? He's facing the weight of failing to protect not just his partner, but his cousin Sean. And don't forget, he almost let Liam get shot too. Honestly, I kind of saw this coming. The signs have been there for a while, especially in the way JJ has been interacting with Theo Carver over the past few months. JJ seemed like he was in a good place. He was taking sensitivity training, going to counseling, and healing from the trauma of shooting Theo years ago. And of course, Theo has forgiven him and even supported his return to the force. For anyone newer to the story, or if it's been a while, here's a quick refresher. About 8 years ago, rookie cop JJ shot Theo while he was fleeing a break-in scene. Theo had been hired for some shady hacking job, thanks Cade, but he was clearly unarmed. JJ was devastated by the shooting. Back then, he almost completely lost it. He wrote goodbye letters to his loved ones, gave away his possessions, broke up with his girlfriend, Lonnie Price, and was facing suspension and charges from the SPD. On Christmas Eve 2017, JJ checked into a hotel planning to intentionally overdose. But then Gabby Hernandez had a gut feeling something was wrong. She arrived just in time, stopped him, and stayed with him through that darkest moment. Slowly, JJ began to recover. Theo, who had been in a coma, eventually woke up paralyzed, but with extensive rehab, he regained the ability to walk. And remarkably, he forgave JJ. Eventually, Theo moved to Johannesburg, South Africa, and became JJ's roommate and business partner. Fast forward to recent months. Tony DeMera brought Theo back from South Africa to run DeMera Enterprises, and he was stunned to discover that JJ was back in Salem and working for the Salem PD again. JJ had returned before Theo because of his own personal turmoil. He'd been dealing with a cheating girlfriend and the emotional fallout of that. Theo tried to get top cop Jada Hunter to fire JJ, bringing up the old shooting incident. But Jada stood by JJ, saying he was doing everything right, counseling, classes, and working hard to be a good cop. So now, here we are. JJ has faced near death, witnessed his partner get hurt, and almost let another person get shot. He's staring down the shadow of his past trauma. And honestly, I'm both nervous and intrigued to see how he handles it. Will he stumble back into old habits or find a new way to cope? For me, this storyline is a fascinating mix of suspense, emotional stakes, and deep character work. JJ's journey isn't over, and I don't think it's going to be easy, but it's definitely worth watching. I think JJ and Theo have finally rebuilt that fragile trust, and it actually looked like they were having a good time, celebrating St. Patrick's Day at the Brady pub with those ridiculous green spritzers. But of course, things couldn't just stay light and fun for long. JJ ended up coming back to the pub after leaving something behind, and that's when trouble started bubbling again. He ran into Sean, and they were catching up, but Sean got a message that Klaus had been spotted in the warehouse district. Naturally, JJ and Sean didn't waste a second. They bolted from the Brady pub to intercept the bad guy. Meanwhile, Klaus was already on the scene, and Liam was in serious danger. Klaus had his gun out, ready to take Liam out to protect Vivian from being implicated in the Dimera kidnappings. And then, just in time, JJ showed up. He stepped in front of Liam, but here's where it got messy. JJ froze. The memory of the night he almost killed Theo on duty came crashing back, and that hesitation gave Klaus the opening he needed. A bullet grazed Liam's arm. Then Sean showed up, jumping right into the line of fire, just as Klaus was about to shoot. Chaos ensued. Gunfire erupted between Sean and Klaus while Liam ran for his life. Both Sean and Klaus were shot, and JJ was left standing there, frozen in disbelief, before finally snapping out of it and calling for help. Thankfully, Days of Our Lives spoilers suggest Sean will survive. By the end of the week, he and JJ are talking at University Hospital. But here's the thing. Will JJ confess to Sean that his freeze moment contributed to the shooting? That guilt could destroy him. This incident could cost JJ everything. He may be put on leave while Jada investigates the officer-involved shooting. The last time JJ fired his weapon on duty was the Theo incident, and we all remember how close that brought him to a complete breakdown. Now, his cousin Sean is lucky to be alive, and JJ is staring at the consequences of doing nothing. This time, the guilt hits differently. JJ didn't just make a mistake. He froze. And that inaction put 3 people in danger. Liam got grazed, Sean took a serious hit, and Klaus seems to be enjoying a permanent dirt nap. I wouldn't be surprised if JJ starts leaning on alcohol or drugs to cope. Remember, he struggled with substance abuse right out of high school, and right now he's isolated. No partner, parents across the country, and only Julie keeping a half-watchful eye in the Horton house. And with the Gabby ship long gone, thanks to JJ suspecting her of shooting EJ Dimera, he doesn't exactly have a support system. Speaking of Julie, things could get awkward since she's tutoring Liam, and Theo isn't thrilled about Liam being around. The old high school bully thing is still fresh. Liam may have apologized for his part in the Dimera kidnappings, but the tension is real. The big question is, will JJ open up to Sean about the PTSD flashback that paralyzed him and led to the shooting? And if not Sean, maybe Theo will be the one JJ confides in. I really hope JJ doesn't spiral. Hopefully, Gabby or someone else notices the warning signs before things get worse. The new police drama might be intense, but at least Sean is going to survive this one. For JJ, though, well, it's a long road ahead. And I think we're about to see some of his darkest moments yet. Soap fans, brace yourselves. Next week is shaping up to be a roller coaster of emotions on daytime TV. Secrets will explode, tensions will reach boiling point, and just when you think you know what's coming, these soaps will prove you wrong. From Beyond the Gates to Days of Our Lives, The Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital, and The Young and the Restless, every show is delivering the kind of drama that keeps us glued to the screen. To me, it feels like this week is all about big reveals, unexpected twists, and those moments that make you rethink every character's motives. Beyond the Gates next week, the fallout from everything that's been building really takes center stage. People are making big decisions, tensions are rising, and a few unexpected moments might just leave everyone questioning where they stand. Monday, Bill and Danny share a surprisingly heartfelt moment as Anita's condition worsens. Things escalate quickly when Smitty receives an urgent call from the hospital, and Joey steps up to comfort Vanessa in her time of need. Tuesday, the tension ramps up. Grayson delivers a dangerous message that immediately puts everyone on edge.